Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast where today's topic is risk factors for osteoporosis and osteopenia. I'm health coach Val Fiott. I want you to know this list of 10 is not an exhaustive list. In fact, I would go so far as to say that almost anything that poses any kind of harm to your health can at least indirectly also pose some level of risk to your bone health as well. But this list, I think, will be a nice, helpful start for you to better understand bone mineral density and what you can start doing to take action today to start improving it. Before we get into this great list of 10, I'm going to ask you to click like to support the video and boost it up in the algorithm online, and also to subscribe so you get more great videos like this in the future. Okay, let's go ahead and get into this list, and then I'll give you some suggestions as to what you can do to start improving things today. At the top of the list, we have some non-modifiable factors. For example, if you're over age 50, you're going to have an increased risk of osteoporosis and osteopenia. Also, if you're a woman, women are far more likely to see themselves with osteoporosis or osteopenia than men are. So that is also a non-modifiable risk factor. Now, we also find that Caucasians and Asians are more likely as well to have osteoporosis or osteopenia. And statistically, we also find that this is more common in smaller, more thin-boned women as well. Now, if you've also had a hysterectomy at any point, hysterectomy is also another risk factor, as is having a history of being on certain medications, especially on being on multiple medications at the same time. Corticosteroids are usually considered to be one of the higher risk medications, but a lot of medications can lead to reactions in the body that will reduce bone mineral density. Now, having any history of hormone replacement therapy, albeit probably being necessary at the time, hormone replacement therapy also does tend to increase our risk for osteoporosis and osteopenia, especially if it was thyroid replacement hormone. That one also seems to increase risk a bit more than any other hormone replacement therapy. Okay, so we've gotten through most of the non-modifiable factors. Now let's talk about some modifiable factors, things that you can take action on right away. At the top of this list is going to be nutrition. Now, it's not enough to just simply try to eat generally better. Calcium intake has really got to be right. I'd also suggest getting your omega-3s right because those will have a pretty indirect effect as well. And hydration, although we often don't think of hydration as having to do with nutrition, hydration is a big, big component of this. People who are commonly dehydrated, and frankly, that's most people, are going to be more likely to see a decrease in bone mineral density. And look what an easy solution that is. It's just simply drinking more water. Water is everywhere, though I do suggest avoiding tap water and getting fluoride-free water instead. So these are a few components relating to nutrition that matter a lot. You'll also want to make sure that your vitamin D levels are appropriate. Vitamin D, of course, you can get pretty well just by supplementing. A really small, simple pill each day will generally do it, or by being outside in the sun, especially in the early to mid-afternoon hours. If you can't be out in the sun due to your lifestyle and your job, then certainly you want to make sure that you're supplementing every day because this is really important. And again, it's a really easy risk factor to minimize. Okay, so now let's talk about a few other modifiable risk factors. Smoking and alcohol and really any kind of blatantly bad sort of behaviors like that, any obvious drug use or anything, those are also going to increase your risk for losing bone mineral density unnecessarily. So if you are a smoker or a drinker, I would definitely suggest cut down and put together a strategy, work with a coach, put together a strategy so that you can start slowly weaning off, or at the very least greatly minimizing, to where these are things that you're only doing maybe a couple times a week instead of potentially a couple of times per day. Now, magnesium is a topic that is extremely important and rarely talked about in conventional medicine in regards to bone mineral density. But getting the right dosing of magnesium every day is critical for everyone. Most Americans are deficient in magnesium. And if we're not managing stress well, what happens is the body tends to use magnesium by pulling it from our bones. And so my advice here is twofold. For one, you want to be able to manage your stress well so that your emotional stress doesn't physically have the repercussions of pulling a lot of magnesium out of your bones. So first try to just manage the stress in a positive way. But on top of that, we also want to be supplementing with magnesium, especially during times of heightened stress in our lives, so that we're able to at least replenish whatever magnesium is utilized from the bones. Again, most people are already deficient in magnesium regardless of stress. So it's really a good idea to supplement with magnesium. And then, as I've said before in previous videos, I recommend using a spray-on magnesium since we generally don't really absorb supplemented oral magnesium all that well. And you can find those spray-on supplements very easily online. Okay, so now this all brings us to strength training, also known as resistive training. Strength training and resistive training do not require a gym or any sort of fitness center, and you can certainly take action immediately by just simply putting together the right kind of strength training program right at home. You don't even necessarily need dumbbells or free weight or kettlebells right away, though usually later in a program, those are going to be pretty helpful. But you can get away with just resistance bands pretty well in the beginning. The end goal here, if you really want to be serious about preventing osteoporosis or osteopenia, or if you already have osteoporosis or osteopenia, then all the more reason why you're going to want to make the end game to get up to about 75 or 80% of each muscle's one repetition maximum. Meaning that if you can perform a certain strength exercise with a 10-pound weight, and that's pretty much your limit, we'll want to get to the point where we can use about an 8-pound weight. Now, you do this gradually over time, and I have plenty of other videos talking more about this, and certainly you can reach out to me. My information's in the description, and we can chat about your unique specifics and what's going to make the most sense for you and your health history and your current fitness levels. But just know that when you begin a strength training program, it's probably not going to do very much when you're initially training with lighter weights at around 50 or 60% of each muscle's capacity. But that's okay. That's a building block. And eventually you'll work your way up to where you can train with heavy enough weights where you're likely to see good improvements on your bone mineral density or to be more preventive in the long run. Anyway, everyone, I hope this video has been really helpful for you. Please let me know in the comments what your questions are. As I said earlier, you can reach out to me directly and we can talk about your unique, specific body's needs and about your lifestyle and some changes you can start to make right away. As always, I'm looking forward to your health and your wellness success.